Hello everyone, welcome to Sports TV Media. This is Sampa Brand, your host. Today we are going to look at the player rating after the season that Manchester United has just had. After the completion of the season, the Premier League season, we look at the player rating. We look at the number of players that we have in the team, in the first team, and how they fared. We also look at those that are usually on the bench, like Lingard, Pereira. We look at them as well. We begin with the people on the bench. We look, those that are outside the first 11. We look at Pereira. We look at Lingard. We look at James. We are also looking at Mata and Fred, McTominay. Those are not in the first team. So when we look at, I'll begin with McTominay. McTominay is one of the, I know most people have not rated McTominay well, but you have to understand that McTominay is the one that kept things moving before the arrival of Bruno Fernandes and before the returning of Pogba. We know that McTominay played a very big role before he was injured. Of course, after coming back after injury, he has not been good enough. He has not played well. But we cannot forgo, or rather forget what he did for us during the time that Bruno Fernandes was not here and when Pogba was not here. McTominay had done his best. And for me, if I was judging them after COVID break, I would give him, of course, a 6 out of 10. But I'm judging him for the whole season. And for me, he gets 8 out of 10. Because it's him who provided that coverage, who had provided that backup. We didn't have anyone. He rose to the occasion and defended Manchester United until he got injured. He played very well. For me, when he started playing, I didn't even want him to miss any game because he was brilliant. So we cannot ignore what someone has done just because they haven't played well on the last games that we played. That would be ungrateful and characteristic of a Manchester United supporter. I got Fred. Fred also came into the game. I think he linked up well with McTominay in the second part of the season. That is after the 3 months that we had started after Pogba got injured. We had also Marshall getting injured. After that, we saw Fred coming up and owning up, and he became one of the best players that we relied on. And his partnership with McTominay was something that was good for us because we didn't have anyone. So he played well. And for me, again, Fred has not played well on the later part of the season, but I want to still appreciate what he did. And if I was giving him a score for the later part of the season, of course, like McTominay, I would give him a 6. But I'm not going to give him that because he did his part before Bruno Fernandes and Pogba came. So I am giving Fred as well. I'll give him a 7 out of 8 because I want to believe that McTominay, before he got injured, he was much better than Fred. I got to Lingard. Lingard for me, because of the goal that he scored that calmed down nerves. The last game against Leicester City, I'll give Lingard. I'll give him 5. He did nothing the entire season, but he did well in the last game. I'll give him 5 for the season. I go to Pereira. Pereira didn't do much for the team. I'll give him a 4 for the season. I go to Daniel James. Daniel James, the first 3 games when he came, he played brilliant. Overall, he has not played well. I'll give him a 6 out of 10 for the whole season. I go to Mata for me, it doesn't deserve more than a 5. I give him a 5. I got to Eric Berry. Eric Bailly doesn't deserve more than a 5. I give him a 5. I go to Mensah. Mensah for me he hasn't played much. I think overall I'll judge him for what he has done on the later part of the season, so I'll give him a 5 as well. I go to Brandon Williams. Brandon Williams was brilliant. I think he pushed Luke Shaw to play better, because Luke Shaw before he was roused, but after Williams coming on the scene, he was pushed and he started playing very well. So for me, Williams, the later part of the season, hasn't played very well, but we know that he was brilliant in the earlier part of the season. It deserves a 7 out of 10. I think I've covered the entire bench. I'll go to Romero, the goalkeeper. For me, Romero has been slightly above average. I think for me, he gets a 6 out of 10. Nothing major, nothing great, nothing spectacular that we can talk about. I think he gets a 6. I go to the first team now. We go to De Gea. We begin with the De Gea. Most people have criticized De Gea this season because of the mistakes that he has made. But we have to know that there are times when De Gea has single-handedly prevented us from losing the game, especially when we had Pereira, Lingard playing in the positions of Pogba and Bruno Fernandes. We saw that we couldn't score even a goal, and even if we score one goal, it meant that we can't score another one, and therefore it's just the keeper to defend us. So he did well. I can't take away the sacrifice that he has done for the team. Of course, he has been poor lately, but I still get a 7 out of 10. I go to Maguire. Maguire gets an average 7 out of 10. He has been solid half of the season. Not really bad, but just average performance. He has been brilliant in a few games. Other games have been poor, so I give him an average performance of 7 out of 10. I go to Lindelof. Lindelof also deserves a 7 out of 10, like Maguire. When people have said the partnership between Maguire and Lindelof is not really working, and that is very true, because the two do not complement each other, because they have the same weaknesses, and therefore they don't complement each other. It's almost like they have the same strengths as well. So we saw that goal, that big win for Tottenham Hotspur scored. It was shambolic. It was roused defending. It was as poor as it can get. We saw that Lindelof tried to cover up, but because it was not pace enough, and the goal went in. So we see that Maguire and Lindelof is not really working as a partnership. That is why it is desirable that Manchester can find a pace a defender who can build with one of these, either Maguire or Lindelof. But I know that Solskjaer would prefer Maguire. Even me, I would prefer Maguire, because he's more consistent than Lindelof, and therefore we need someone who can play with Maguire. Eric Bailly cannot really play, because Eric has been injured more than half of a season, and he's not reliable. He shall continue to have injuries. We can't rely on him, and therefore, because he's having injuries consistently, he cannot come to the level where he has to play for Manchester United, for Manchester to win a trophy or even challenge for the top 3. Therefore, we just need a defender in that position who can help Maguire. I go to Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka was excellent, almost vying for player of the season. But of course, the last 4 or 5 games he hasn't played really well. But because of his performances before, I know that he deserves better, and I'm giving him an 8.5. Many have criticized him and dropped him, but you are being unrealistic because this man has played most of the games, and he can get tired, and therefore for me he gets a 8.5. I go to Luke Shaw. Luke Shaw for me was brilliant, linking up with Rashford, though his last touch is not really good in the penalty area, or when he's crossing. Sometimes he just shoots in the people. Not really good, not really brilliant, but I can say he has improved tremendously since the coming of Brandon Williams, and he's trying to link up with Rashford to an extent that when he was injured, we saw the gap that was there when Brandon Williams was recalled back into the first team. Therefore, for me, Luke Shaw gets 8 out of 10 for the season. I'll go to the guys in midfield: Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, and Matic. Matic for me again, it wasn't good start of the season, and the last games wasn't really good. Some games was poor. For me, Matic gets 8 out of 10 for his performances that has helped Manchester to go into the third position. Pogba for me also gets 8.5 for his performances. He hasn't played the entire season, the first part of the season, but he played the last for the last games that we played after COVID break. He played all of them, and sometimes he was brilliant, excellent with Bruno Fernandes. Sometimes he was poor. I'll give him an average performance of I think I'll give him 8.5 as well, because some games was very brilliant, others it was poor. I go to Bruno Fernandes. For me, Bruno Fernandes, and for me, Bruno Fernandes gets is the reason that we are where we are as Manchester United. He has given us a fighting spirit. He has rekindled our spirit. He has helped us to become the team that we must become again. And therefore, for me, he's a man of the season. Yes, he has played just half of the season, or even less than that. But we know that without Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United would come out number 10, 8, 9, somewhere there. We couldn't have gotten even top 6. We could not have gotten that without Bruno Fernandes. So for me, he's the player of the season. And for me, Bruno Fernandes didn't play well for the last games. I would have given him a 10. But because he didn't play well for the last games, I'll give him a 9.5. It was brilliant. It was perfect. Even when he was poor, he still helped the team win or do one or two things for the strikers. And therefore, it was a brilliant signing. This is what we want to know, to see. Let him continue in his position. He should continue developing and improving and helping the team. So for me, he's a player of the season, and he gets 9.5. I go to Rashford. Rashford for me, he was brilliant the first part, the later part of the first season, the earlier part of the season. There was a period where he was poor between August and September, I think, even going into October somewhere there. But he caught up, and he improved, and he became one of the best people that we can fear in Europe at that time before he got injured. I think at the time he was getting injured, I think there was no one who was better than him on that position. And just the pace, attacking, the running, the dribbling, he was perfect. I would have given him again, like Fernandes, I would have given him a 10 out of 10. But when he returned from injury, he has been just there. He hasn't really performed the way we know Rashford. He tried to come back, but I think there wasn't enough time for him to get back to his form. So for me, Rashford is just slightly below Fernandes, and I'll give him, if I give Pogba 8.5, I think I'm giving Rashford a 9 out of 10 for the performances. Rashford is one of those people. I know there are people who support Anthony Martial. Both these players are Manchester United players, and singling one over the other, I don't know what criteria they're using, because Rashford has scored the same number of goals with Martial, but he has even more assists, and he had a terrible injury. But people are commending Martial and saying he's the man of the player of the season. How? Where? He has scored the same number of goals with Rashford. You can say, yes, all those there is no penalty on those. Yes. But even people fail to score penalties. We have seen that. What about assists? We have seen that Rashford has assists as well. So overall, Rashford for me is a better player than Martial. Yes, Martial has improved tremendously. There was a point where I wanted him just sold, and I didn't want him for the club because of his laziness. But I want to believe that after the COVID-19 break, when we resumed play, I want to congratulate him. He has improved tremendously. I don't know, because maybe it's because of the coming of Greenwood in the team. He's scared of the position being taken away from him, and also the signing of Edwin Igaro. I don't know whether that is the reason he has improved, but he has improved tremendously. For me, at the moment, I can put him toe-to-toe with Rashford. Not that he's better than Rashford. Rashford is a much more developed player than Martial. Martial has hit the gears where the level where Rashford is, but not better than Rashford, like other people are claiming. So Rashford for me, he gets a 9. Martial, I'll be fair, I'll also give him a 9. I go to Greenwood, I'll give him a 9 as well. I think I'm done for the whole team now. So for me, the player of the season is Bruno Fernandes, and coming after him is Rashford, Martial, and Wan-Bissaka. These were brilliant for the most part of the season, and we want to thank them for the contribution they had made for Manchester United. I go to the coach. The earlier part of the season, he was very poor, and the fact that he didn't buy Bruno Fernandes when he needed to buy him, I would have given him, for reaching us third position, I would give him even a 10 out of 10. But because of the mistakes he has made, I will give him 8 out of 10. The team overall performance, I'm giving them, I think, after Liverpool, I'm giving them as the second team of the season, because of the brilliant fighting that they had put in. After all hope was lost that we are not going to come out in the top 4, they fought back and they managed to do what almost was impossible before the COVID break. Now, Solskjaer gets an 8 for me. The whole team, for me, they were poor sometimes. The earlier part of the season, they were poor, but we saw a lot of improvements. They have come back to Manchester that we love and know. I'll be doing myself disservice, even the team disservice, if I say they get below 8.5. I give them 8.5 actually out of 10, and just behind Liverpool in terms of team of the season. I want to thank you for watching. Join us on YouTube, that is Sports TV Media. You can share the video, you can like it, you can also subscribe so that you support this channel. This channel is for you. As we begin the Europa games, we shall do the analysis, we shall do the team predictions until the season ends, and we shall also start a session where we shall talk about possible transfers for Manchester United for this season, as we know that we are already five days into the transfer season and nothing has happened for Manchester United. I want to thank you for watching. All the best and enjoy your day.